Hey guys, Ronan here. Today I'm going to cover my experience playing Lords of the Fallen. This game was recommended to me by quite a few people saying that it was a Souls-like game and that they knew I liked playing Dark Souls. So I decided to give it a shot. I found a copy on sale, which I was glad for because I personally did not enjoy the gameplay. This game has some to offer if you like graphics. You know, the story is less vague than in Dark Souls. You don't have to go and find the lore and piece the story together. This game will actually tell you the story as you're playing, which, I mean, it's not a negative or a positive, I would say. It's just a different experience. When I picked up the game, I was kind of excited to get a different feel, maybe a new story, and like the gameplay, I was kind of hoping it to be a lot like Dark Souls. And that's probably why I was a little disappointed with the game. So if I compared it to it, I would rather suggest getting Dark Souls 2. But if you've never played any of them, then you may enjoy this game. What I found that was lacking was the gameplay. As soon as I started playing the game, and then straight into it, there is no character customization. You don't get to choose what your hero looks like. You don't get to pick a name. And to me, that's just basic RPG. At least one character, you can at least pick his name or choose his looks. I mean, that's what immerses you into an RPG. You get to pick, you know, the hero or the villain you want to be. You want it to look like something you could imagine playing like. The character does look kind of badass, but to me, it's not my idea of what I would like my character to look like. And then that ties into the gear system. The gear system is a very linear, and depending on if you plan on playing a heavy or light character, it kind of takes away from, you know, your aesthetic point of view, because then you're just basically equipping either the best gear set you find, which, I mean, it's just so linear that as soon as you find the next tier, then that's what you're going to be wearing, essentially, if you find it at the right quality, because there is a bit of randomness to this, a little RNG to getting the gear, because there's a hidden mechanic in the loot system. So you combine your luck and your kill chain together, and you'll have a better chance of getting a purple item as opposed to just getting a blue or white item, which are lower qualities. So if you get lucky with a chest, you open it and you get the entire set purple, well, if that's the kind of armor you want to be wearing, well, that's what you're going to be wearing, because it's going to be the best until you find the next tier. There are no aesthetic to this game for armor, what Dark Souls player called Passion Souls. So you don't have any of that, you just wear whatever is the best, because that's how the game mechanic is. Selecting your class, I found kind of, I mean, why even bother putting a class in, because they're very basic. You basically get 4 spells. And the spells are, I mean, some of them are okay, but I found that the buffing ones were a little bit harder to use because it's a long cast time, and often enough you leave yourself open to an attack, and then you have to wait, like let's say during a boss, you have to wait for an attack to give you an opportunity to hit. So sometimes you end up waiting long enough that your buff is only good for a very short amount of time. Now mind you, I do remember as my warrior, my giant axe, buffing myself and then just tearing through the boss quite easily. But I still found that the spells could either be casted faster or like, I don't know, it's either you do damage or everybody has a mimic or like a decoy, which I found that just basically just stood there. Rogue, I remember having one that's supposed to mimic your attacks, but depending on the length of your weapon, it would actually miss because it's behind you. I found the best one for the Rogue was either the invisibility one or the backstab one, where you send your ghost forward, which is basically the same as Ram, except of running right through one or multiple targets. You basically just stab the first target it reaches, but it deals a lot of damage. If you do end up playing multiple playthroughs, you can unlock all 3 of the classes anyway. So I don't see the point in that, because there's really not much of a point in playing the game 3 times on the same character. And then that's it. If you do play it 3 times on the same character, that's it. So the replayability is kind of low to me. There's no need to do it for the story, because as far as I know, you don't unlock any new story chain, or you just basically do a few different choices that you go through, like not chopping the guy's arm off or whatever. Sorry, I got off on a tangent, but the gear is all set at basically exact locations. So let's say you open the chest before the first boss. and you got some armor. Well, then when you play your New Game Plus, it's going to be the exact same gear in that chest. If you already have the highest tier armor equipped, then that chest is basically useless to you. There's no point in getting that gear or getting that chest again. So basically you're just playing to just rush through the bosses, to rush through the story, and then you're done. Like, I just don't see the point in not wanting to enjoy the game. To me, they made a lot of decisions that made you just want to rush through and just kill things and be on with it. As far as the weapons go, basically there are much better weapons than others. There's not that good of a balancing like in Dark Souls. In this game, the movesets are very slow. This is what brings me to the combat, is that the game is very clunky, very slow. The gameplay is not smooth at times, which the game, it feels very sluggish, unresponsive feel. The animation lock while rolling is just really long. Attacking, sometimes the build-up of your weapon, like you try to swing with a mace and it takes so long that the enemy just quick jabs you and then your animation is cancelled. But I think that also depends on your armor set. Like sometimes just before connecting, you just are open for so long, and then when you're trying to punish an enemy because he took a giant swing, then you go, but he already recovers before your hit goes off. So I feel that is a flaw that maybe overlooked, because even when I was using a one-handed weapon, which was very slow to wield with one hand, it was still super slow to wield with two hands. Like, you would think that being able to wield it with two hands, you'd be able to do it faster, or at least much stronger. And then they added the timing to the hits to make it more interactive, I guess. But I found that the timing for most of them would be so slow behind, like it'd be almost when your weapon actually lost all its momentum. So you take a swing, and then you think your swing is basically done and you're not doing anything else, then the tick happens and you swing again. Well, I just feel it could be better done. Like, smoother gameplay would make this game much better. I found that some of the heavy weapons were underwhelming. When you hit them with a giant swing, you did either very little damage, which I understand that it does scale later on, and that it would be very hard sometimes to stagger enemies with certain attacks. But, I mean, almost every weapon I felt was very slow anyway. I think the monk's staff was pretty quick, the daggers were pretty quick, but I found that some of the heavier weapons later in the game were just devastating by using the running attack with R2, which basically you jump and often enough stagger them, and then a quick R1 just to do a quick attack. If you had a strong enough weapon, you basically killed almost any enemies, and that I found was game breaking. The only enemies I found didn't really work that well with were the mages near the end. If they buff themselves, you have to be careful and watch for that, so that you don't redirect your damage to yourself, which could kill you very quickly. And the giant orc-like knights with giant shields, I found that just waiting for them to rush you, and then you time your R2 well, then it would just stagger them and they wouldn't hit you. Other than that, you could basically just run at any enemy, R2, R1, done. Or I've seen other people online do it with a shield. You run, put your shield up, it tosses them to the floor, and then just kill them. So I found that the move sets were very repetitive. You could basically use certain tactics on every enemy and just roll right through them. The controls I found a little awkward, but this again goes with the game. It could be because I'm used to a different game. I think that by streamlining their controls a little better, like the dodging, I found the dodge was a lot like Dark Souls 1 as opposed to Dark Souls 2. When you were targeted on the boss, you could only roll in 4 directions. When you weren't target locked, you could roll in any directions. When you're trying to dodge a boss and you're pushing backwards, you're not necessarily going backwards from where you were, which is what you were hoping probably to dodge the attack. You're dodging in respect to where the boss is. So if you're kind of strafing left and right and then you push backwards to roll, then you may not go where you think and you may still get hit. The bigger ones are going left to right. You're basically going, and you can't go diagonal is what I'm trying to say. I think also for the controls, having to cycle through your gauntlet and your two-handed and one-handed weapon stances, I think it could be better done by having only one button that swap between your stances, and then either another button or holding the button to switch to your gauntlet to be able to do your ranged attacks. I think that having to cycle 3 times sometimes caused like mistakes to happen, and it slowed down your ability to be effective in combat. If you made a mistake and went one too far, you had to keep going. I felt that playing unlocked actually made dodging a lot easier, but then it changed the flow of combat. It actually made the combat a little smoother. Then I found that it gave you problems with camera angles, so you would dodge the boss, but then you can't see the boss. You have to try and turn fast enough, lock on the boss, unlock the boss, and attack him. I found that, I mean, it's probably hard to get around that. I just felt like sometimes it would make you get with positions where you missed out your opportunity to hit the boss after he didn't swing. Yeah, the R2, R1, I do this for about 80% of the game. I just ran R2, R1, killed it, move on to the next one, which got kind of boring. The lack of co-op. I mean, co-op is fun. You want to play with friends, that way you can flank the enemy, you can take on, more enemies, you take on a boss. The boss is a bit more challenging. It brings in some social and replayability to your game, and I find lack of co-op was a big one. Learn from their mistakes, he learns from yours, you learn what they're doing well, and you improve your gameplay with that. While I was making this video, I found out the pro tip that I guess I wasn't using on my warrior when I played my first playthrough. I actually unequipped my shield for the weight, so I could have a fast roll on a heavy character. So on this character, I noticed, because I had my shield equipped still, even though I was using a two-handed weapon, as I'm rolling away from the monster, the shield actually still blocks damage. So that could be very useful. I find even a light character, you just equip a heavy shield and maintain your fast rolling. Then you can fast roll out and still block the hits as you're rolling away from the enemy. Some enemies had some very odd movesets, especially pointing to the weaker looking ones that can barely hold their weapons. And then all of a sudden they just start swinging like crazy, and it actually did a lot of damage at times. I found that very odd. Some, notably bosses, some of them would actually do a giant swing and then recover so fast it gave you no time to actually hit them for them taking a giant swing at you. And that feels like a flaw to me. Like, if somebody takes a giant swing, you should have enough time to at least hit them once. But because the way shields work in this game, a lot of the time, just having the shield there doesn't actually have to be blocking. You can just go hit them and then you would actually do 0 damage because they're blocking technically, which made the tactic of rolling on their sword side more favorable. I found that some of the bosses were actually very easy to learn the mechanics. A few of them maybe took me 3 tries at the most just to get them. One of the positives is that some bosses have challenges that you can complete to get a better weapon from them, which means that say you complete the challenge on the first boss, which was not getting hit, I believe, not taking any damage while killing him, but then you would get like a really good weapon that basically could potentially be one of the best weapons for a very long time. But the challenges made the game slightly better, but made the fights relatively harder, because then you're trying to do something that you don't necessarily have to, which for the graveyard fight, he gave me a bit of a hard time because I tried to get his ads to die from his abilities, from his damage, and I found that trying to roll away from them, they're quite fast and they would stagger me, which got annoying after a while. So that's a positive, trying to make incentives of trying to do a boss fight more challenging. Armor sets. I covered some of this, but I found that the armor weight was kind of odd. Sure, the heavy armor was heavy and it felt like heavy armor, but then the light armor, I mean, it looks like it has plates on it. It's light armor, but it's plated. It's got steel on it. Why would you have plates on light armor? Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel aesthetically like it would fit. And then it's light. It has plates, but it's still very light armor. It's not heavy, but you take a lot of damage. I didn't really understand that part. And then with your weight, jumping got very aggravating, even though you only need to do it maybe 2 or 3 times for certain locations. But if you were wearing light armor, you would jump farther, and at the end of your jump, you would roll, which in certain spots, you would basically overshoot your target, which I found that putting a lot of heavy armor on made it easier, because then you just jump and then you don't roll, you're ready to just keep walking. I mean, based on your weight percentage, and you always try to get your weight percentage to the lowest, I found that that could have been a flaw. Let's say you were wearing really heavy armor and had a light roll, because it is possible with your stats and gear, then like what do? Like, I guess you just have to time your jump better. But I found that kind of long. But then again, it was easy enough to get a heavy armored guy having a armor weight low enough that you could do fast rolling. And I found that if you did that, then what's the point of having light armor in the game? Because it wasn't hard at all to get high enough, especially with a certain ring. It gave you more endurance, I believe, or more weight capability. Potions. Now, maybe I'm just bad, but the potions seem to be random. So I played all 3 classes to the 3rd boss or so, just to see the different feel of the spell. The potions, I found that some games I'd have like 8 by the 3rd boss, and other games I'd only have 5 or even 4. But I find that would be very badly balanced, since you kind of need your potions during boss fights because there's some damage that's just not avoidable. But then again, if you have less potions, then it makes you a better player. So I mean, either way, but it shouldn't be random to get like almost a essential item. You know, trying to make you a better player is great and all, but it's too bad that the game is not one of those games that I care to become a better player, because I just don't want to play it that much. Picking up items and interacting with just levers and chests, it was so clunky. It's so slow. Sometimes there's a super long delay trying to interact with something. I think there was a door, it took me like at least 10 seconds to interact with it. You're just standing in front of it and you know you can interact with it, and it's just irritating, especially when you're trying to pick up, let's say you die during a boss fight, you try to just run to get your souls back, and you can't. Like, you're just standing there and it's just not letting you, and you have to dodge out of the way, come back, and it's not smooth. And that's the biggest thing in gameplay. They don't do a good job anymore, is smooth gameplay. I did a review on Destiny, and even though I didn't like the game that much, it's still a good game. But the gameplay is smooth. That's key. Dark Souls is smooth. Like, I think it's one of the things that game developers forget about. A lot of the enemies look the same throughout the game. It felt like they're just reskins. They look the same. They fight the same, but they're just getting stronger. And then the enemy placement. Sometimes they placed enemies that were stronger in earlier areas, but they look the same as the other one. So it gave you a bad sense of progression. It's like all of a sudden you fight the exact same enemy, but hey, he's like 10 times stronger. So you have to be careful because you basically got one shot by him almost. Oh yeah, and then exploration. The game is very linear. It makes you go where they want you to go at the time they want you to go. Certain areas, I'll show one of the gameplays, and my first time through I had a hard time killing those giant orcs with shields, but then it got easier and I felt the need to go explore what was behind them. But then the game basically allows you to get one chest out of there, and that's it. Like, the door is closed. Like, you fought through all the enemies, and I felt like, okay, let's keep going, and then you can't, the door is locked. So they show you branches, paths that give you kind of the feeling that you're exploring and finding out more about the world, but then it's like, no, you can't go there, not yet, you go there later. It just kind of closes in your exploring feeling. Basically, just draw a line on the floor, follow it, that's your path, that's where you're going, that's where the game takes you. Follow this, do the story, then do it again. That's it. Like, there's just no point to exploring. There's no reward for actually exploring. There's a few hidden items here and there, but they're just lacking there. You open shortcuts, but you don't really need them. I found that some cutscenes were unskippable, especially after bosses. So at first, not a big deal, you know. After you've played the game a few times, or if you choose to play the game a few times or different characters, it gets really annoying. You just want to skip it. You've already seen it. You don't care for it. It's nothing amazing for a cutscene. And then also some instances that you were already in that boss room, notably the second boss, and all of a sudden you're loading the boss. Well, I mean, shouldn't you just spawn there? Like, why do you have to load the boss because you're standing there? And I'm on PC, so the load time's not that bad, but I can only imagine if you're on a console and you're just waiting there. I just feel that's, again, not smooth gameplay. This was basically my opinion on Lords of the Fallen. I think that if you had not played Dark Souls before, you may actually enjoy this game, but for $60, I think it's worth waiting for a sale or going on a third-party website and finding a good deal on the game. But the story was a good story, so you could enjoy it. Graphics were really nice. Voice acting was fitting the gameplay. But what killed it for me is the gameplay and the replayability. I am so glad I didn't pay $60 because the replayability of the game. I paid, I think, $40 for Dark Souls 2 Scholars of the First Sin, and I've played 200 hours probably on that, not counting Dark Souls 2, the original. I think that's where the big difference is between these two games. If only they could have made the game smooth. So if this company is planning on making a sequel or another one, hopefully they learn from these flaws and they actually improve, because I'm sure they made a lot of money, people bought it and then maybe got disappointed. Some people probably even liked the game, but I think that making the game smoother and less clunky would actually improve their potential for future games. I think I've only played about 10-12 hours is your first playthrough while you're learning the game, dying because you're learning the ads mechanics. I'm pretty sure in maybe 5 hours you can finish the whole game. It's not that bad. It all depends on if you end up dying or not. And with making this video, just playing for footage for what I wanted to review and playing every classes to the third boss, I have 21 hours in this game. That's it. Compared to a lot of the other games I play, I have like hundreds of hours in many other games. So this to me is a sign that this game very lacking. It's not flawed. It's very lacking. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. It was quite long, or at least my thoughts on Lords of the Fallen. I will be releasing at least one review per week. I will try to keep reviews on current games because Lords of the Fallen is kind of old now, but hopefully this helps you make a decision whether you want to buy or play Lords of the Fallen. Keep a lookout. I would like to review games, give my opinion to people so that they can save their money and buy a game that they feel is worth playing and worth paying top dollar from their hard-earned money. And that's why I want to make the reviews. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in about a week.